security and defence analyst, Michael Clarke, joins us now. And Michael, just looking at that report from John, if you cast your mind back to 2022 when this all began, and that single long road in Bucha, that town outside Kiev, it became famous for the failure of military hardware and technology. You know, the Ukrainians just managed to decimate scores of Russian tanks. You think of that 35-mile-long armoured column that got bogged down with thousands of vehicles. In the course of almost 4 years, this war has completely shifted the way warfare is conducted. And now, drones shepherding people out of those tanks and loudspeakers shouting to 3 men where to run to safety.
Yeah, I mean, Gareth, this war's gone through 3 iterations. We're into the 3rd sort of war now, because the one you referred to start with, 2022, looked like the sort of battlefield that we were familiar with in the 20th century, more or less. I mean, attack and defence, armoured column. Actually, it wasn't a 35-mile armoured column. It was a traffic jam.
Traffic jam, yes. 10 different divisions, all kind of bundled in.
3 battle groups, all converged on the same road because there was so much mud around and there was no communication between them, so they just got stuck. Anyway, that was the first iteration. Then the war in 2023 went through a sort of an iteration that made it look like industrial warfare from the 20th century. And now it's something different again that is hard to characterise because we call it the drone war, but it's actually a war of robotics. Drones are the most obvious part of it, but robotics are being used on the ground, little tanks carrying supplies backwards and forwards. And as we keep saying, that the front lines are now very indistinct. At one time, you could find trenches, as in the First World War. You look at the line of trenches, maybe half a mile apart, maybe closer, and you could draw a fairly clear line as to where the battle was. But in this case, there is a kill zone. And that kill zone is in some parts of the front maybe 5 kilometres wide either side. In other parts, it's up to 35 or 40 kilometres wide, which is meant to say nothing in that area can move safely. And the forces are all behind each other, small groups of men operating within that area in little islands, and those islands overlap. And they're conducting some pretty deadly battles. And once they're there, they can only be supplied by drone, usually. They have to be evacuated in some secret way or clever way. They have to wear thermal blankets. They have to crawl with blankets over them, thermal blankets, so they don't give out a heat signature. It's very, very different. And this is, it'll go down as the drone war. It's a bit of a misnomer, but we know what it means. It's the fact that armoured vehicles can't move around in this area. You don't see much armour on the front lines at all because it's so vulnerable, as we just saw in that little clip there. At one time, when there was an air attack, men ran into their vehicles because they were safest there. Now they leave their vehicles, get out of the way, because the vehicle they know will be hit if it's stationary and it's been spotted.
And even then, the countless videos that circulate online of first-person drones that you can buy off the shelf hunting down individual men running away, running through the fields. War is gruesome, but this kind of bird's-eye view makes it feel even more so at times.
And you know, that's exactly what Zelensky said at the United Nations, at the General Assembly, when he gave his speech. He said, look, you can see in Ukraine, this is what war is coming to. You can see what 21st century war is going to look like, and it's scary. You know, we're in it. And when AI takes over, as it will do, it hasn't quite yet, but when AI starts to control what drones, where the drones go and who they target, it will be even scarier. So he's saying, get hold of this now, stop this war now, and let's have a regime to stop it. Because you can see in my country that this is going to flow out of control, out of your control. He was very clear on that.
There is still, regardless of all of this, the need for bombs and kind of just old-fashioned military hardware. There was all that talk of the Tomahawks because they had the longer range than what Ukraine has currently. That didn't come to fruition. I'm literally just seeing, being reported by the Reuters news agency, Zelensky saying Ukraine will ask the US about similar weapons to Tomahawks that don't require much training. Does such a thing exist?
Not really. The ATACMS, the Army Tactical Missile System, can be long range, and that's a ground-to-ground system, whereas Tomahawks can be fired from the air, from an aircraft, from the sea, a ship or a submarine, or there is now a ground-launched version of Tomahawk. Only came into service with the Americans last year. So ATACMS are certainly usable. The Ukrainians do know how to use them. They have used them, and they could get longer range versions of that. It's hard to think of anything quite as good as the Tomahawk with its 1,500-mile range and its accuracy, sheer accuracy. So I'm not sure what Zelensky might have in mind. And the Europeans don't have anything remotely like it. They have Storm Shadow and Scalp, which they've used, which is like 500 kilometres, 500 miles. That's, no, sorry, 500 kilometres.
150, 200
That's right, sorry, yeah, 500 kilometres max. And then Storm Shadow and Scalp, and the French have developed a naval Scalp, which has got longer range as an anti-ship missile, because it needs to go over, areas of sea. So there's some stuff there, but nothing. I mean, they've got under development missiles that are like Tomahawk, but they won't be available for a couple of years at least.
I'll have to see how those developments go with the United States for the moment, Michael. Thank you.